US city volunteers hold a free clinic and aid distribution in different regions to help the needy. In an in-depth report, we learn how trans fat is made and why it is detrimental to our human body. Welcome to DaAi Headlines. I'm Wendy Chen. Thank you for joining us. First up, in the United States, city volunteers held a winter aid distribution and dental check in Chicago to help the homeless brave the winter months ahead. And on the other side of the country, in California, a free clinic was also held in Lytle Creek Elementary School in San Bernardino to help low-income families.
San Bernardino is the poorest city in the state of California. Thus, the city regularly holds free clinics there to safeguard residents' health and often calls on community volunteers to assist.
Let me briefly introduce to us
my first time for doing this, and it was just an absolute amazing feeling to be able to be a part of this and to help people. Just seeing the smile on the children's faces and the people, like I say, as we walk through the process, you can see that they were very grateful that they were receiving this help.
At this event, city's 2 mobile clinics provided vision and dental checkups for those in need. Despite his own father being in emergency care, Dr. Chen Xianyong still arrived to offer his expertise.
He's actually in the ER right now in the hospital and is very sick. And part of the reason why I'm so active in volunteering is that it allows me to kind of gain more blessing for my father.
Towards the end of the day, a family who received city's help half a year earlier brought their filled bamboo coin bank back to donate.
When I have coins or see coins on the floor, I will pick them up and put it into the coin bank. Some people won't pick up a penny on the floor, but I will, as every penny counts.
Pennies adds into dollars to help the less fortunate. It is with this mindset that city volunteers circulate the bamboo coin bank to more people. Meanwhile, in Chicago, city volunteers are holding a winter aid distribution for the homeless. Despite the cold weather, the compassion radiating from volunteers warms the hearts of those waiting in line for a dental checkup.
Yeah, and representing the love from our volunteers.
City's signature gray blanket was also introduced, and behind each aid package is the love of countless volunteers. Receiving the warm items, residents felt taken care of. Donating within their abilities, wishes are also deposited into the bamboo coin banks. City volunteers' sincerity continues to reach the less fortunate one person at a time.
Every year, the Loy Krathong, also known as the Water Lantern Festival, is celebrated on the evening of the full moon of the 12th lunar month in Thailand. Buddhist residents in Kedah, Malaysia, who are near the borders of Thailand, also celebrated the occasion. At one of the events, city volunteers were not only on site to promote no littering, but also canvassed for donations to help the typhoon survivors in the Philippines.
In Jitar, Kedah, a Buddhist temple holds their annual celebration to welcome in Loy Krathong, a traditional festival for giving thanks and paying homage to the water gods. Among the celebration, Malaysian city volunteers canvass for donations for those in need.
It moves us deeply to see so many people donate. Looking at the catastrophic damage the Philippines faces, we really need to inspire more people.
To not only inspire residents to help, but also to take action to protect the planet, city volunteers quickly get to work, picking up the garbage left behind as the festivities comes to an end.
It's fine, otherwise this garbage will end up clogging the gutter.
Moved by the volunteers' selflessness, a Buddhist abbot stops in his track to capture the images.
This is very inspiring because many people often forget to pick up after themselves. I hope this inspires everyone to pitch in to help clean up the environment. Seeing volunteers, young and old, setting such a good example for others not only accumulates merit as a whole, but also helps people to be friendlier towards each other.
Uniting people together, the light of the floating crowns are lit, as well as the lamp of the heart.
To help those affected by Typhoon Haiyan in the Philippines, Tzu Chi volunteers in different regions of Malaysia have all mobilized to raise funds. Among the volunteers is Chen Hua, a Tzu Chi volunteer from Jordan, who joined his counterparts to canvass for dirt love at a traditional market.
Would you like to make a donation to help the typhoon survivors in the Philippines? Thank you.
This is Jordan Tzu Chi volunteer Chen Hua, who has joined his counterparts in Malaysia in fundraising. Beside him is Yu Qianlin. Despite suffering from Parkinson's disease, he still does his best to help.
I have promised Master Zheng Yan that I will follow her teachings and be a Tzu Chi volunteer forever.
To help those affected by Typhoon Haiyan, Tzu Chi volunteers across the country mobilized to contribute their share.
I want to make some donations to help the typhoon survivors in the Philippines. It's great that I meet you today so I can donate money to those in need.
Many Malaysians live well-off lives, and those disaster survivors are in desperate need of aid supplies, so we should do our part to help them.
Here at the shopping mall in Kuantan, Malays also seized the opportunity to make contributions. 57-year-old Xiao Cai-yin joined in the fundraising for the day.
I feel a little tired, but I also feel a Dharma joy from within.
While in Butterworth, trainee volunteers not only donated their love, but also took to the streets to invite more people to join their cause.
I hope Tzu Chi can help me deliver my love and care to them.
Meanwhile, in Malacca, Tzu Chi volunteer Xu Lifang organized a charity event at her company with the full support of her supervisor.
My manager asked me if I was going to raise funds in the company. I said yes.
People with compassion not only do their jobs better, but also show more care for their colleagues. This is good because it will create a harmonious atmosphere in the company.
It is meaningful to help those in need.
At the end of the day, volunteers organized a blessing ceremony where local community members joined in prayer to wish the disaster survivors peaceful and harmonious days ahead.
In Thailand, the Chiang Mai Tzu Chi School organized its first ever coming-of-age ceremony for its 12th graders. The event was also attended by the Deputy CEO of the Tzu Chi Foundation, Wang Duanzhen, who shared some tips with the students who are ready to shine.
Here at the coming-of-age ceremony for the 12th graders of the Chiang Mai Tzu Chi School, students practice kneeling to show their thanks to their teachers, while teachers return the blessings. Many participants were moved to tears.
I'm very touched. The teachings of the Tzu Chi School are not something you can buy in a bookstore. You have to feel it from the bottom of your heart.
Deputy CEO of the Tzu Chi Foundation, Wang Duanzhen, also took part in this special occasion and shared 3 tips of a successful life with the students: gratitude, respect, and love.
In the face of any future challenges, one must deal with them with a mature mind and great wisdom, so that one can succeed and find achievement.
As part of the activities of the coming-of-age ceremony, students went to a national park to join in a tree planting event. In the afternoon, the students returned to the school where they learned a bit of wisdom from senior volunteers. Later, teachers put on wristbands for the students, symbolizing their great blessings and love.
This is the first time we 12th graders have joined such an event together. During the event, we learned how to overcome difficulties and help each other as a team.
I have learned a lot. I will put whatever I learned from the Tzu Chi volunteers or my teachers into practice.
Learning under the wings of Tzu Chi, these students are immersed with limitless love and care, which they know will become a pillar of support later in life.
According to the World Meteorological Organization's Greenhouse Gas Bulletin, in 2012, the concentration of greenhouse gas in the atmosphere broke all previous records. To tackle global warming as a result of greenhouse gas emissions, the Industrial Technology Research Institute of Taiwan and the Taiwan Cement Corporation have joined hands to construct Asia's first carbon capture plants.
So the news are not good news. The news are, if you look at the major greenhouse gases, in particular CO2, methane and nitrous oxide, for all these major greenhouse gases, the concentrations are reaching once again record levels.
According to the World Meteorological Organization, greenhouse gas concentration in the atmosphere has once again broken all previous records. Rapid economic growth has contributed to a rise in pollution. Is this what we want to leave behind for our next generation?
The cement industry produces a significant amount of waste, including CO2. In fact, it is considered as one of the primary producers of CO2. However, in the future, the situation may change. The pipes here collect all the emissions given off by the factory. This calcium looping system then captures about 90% of the CO2 released from the emissions.
How can we capture CO2 if we can see it and feel it? When a limestone is heated, it produces lime and a large amount of CO2. Therefore, by reversing the process, lime can be used as CO2 absorbent.
The emissions we collect from the second cement kiln will go through a carbonation furnace. Limestone is produced when lime reacts with CO2.
Other than extending the life cycle of lime and controlling raw material consumption, the most important thing is to increase the CO2 capture rate.
We have estimated that it can reach 95% and higher. We are only using oxygen in the calcination process, so we know there is only oxygen and carbon dioxide there.
In 2006, researchers of the ITRI started to develop a system to capture CO2 emissions. In July of this year, they decided to set up a small-scale CO2 capture plant at a cement factory.
这个是全世界最权威的水泥期刊，它这里面特别介绍，这是亚洲第一座。
There has been a global push to capture carbon dioxide emissions. Right now, it is about $25 per ton. In the future, we hope to decrease that cost to $10 per ton. When this technology has matured, it can be widely used for commercial interests.
In the future, a carbon tax might be applied. If the carbon tax is about $20 to $30 per ton, the system that can capture and bury CO2 emissions can earn a lot of money. It will be very profitable.
Other than capturing CO2, what else can this system do? Besides the calcium looping pilot plant, we see tubes growing algae.
This tube can directly use the CO2 captured by the system. For this one, however, the CO2 has to be treated first before use.
In the future, researchers will also add a CO2 liquefy system. To help slow the pace of global warming, researchers of ITRI will continue in their efforts to make such system as widely available as possible.
To celebrate Gender Day at the 19th Conference of the Parties to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change held this month in Warsaw, Poland, a day was set aside to honor the women present at the Climate Change Conference. The purpose was to remind everyone that not only are we the ones most affected by climate change and natural disasters, but that in many cases we can also be the solution to these problems.
Early morning in the streets of Warsaw, half of the people going to work are women. But at the National Stadium, where the negotiation of COP19 are taking place, it's a complete different story. And the number of males is still more important. That's why today, the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, as well as many organizations, decided to recognize the importance of women on the climate change frontline.
All of us members of the women's constituency, we are very happy that we have got this day to put forward our views and also share our experiences with women all over the world.
Gender Day is a remind everybody that climate change is not only one party, one gender's responsibility. It's mutual, male, female, family, every individual.
This is the time for collaboration.
If today women are being honored here, in many places they are left behind and are sometimes even more affected by men when disasters strike. Women from all over the world reunited and dedicated an action to the victims of the Typhoon Haiyan with a representative from the Philippines.
It will always be the local communities and particularly the women from the global south who have very low carbon footprints, and yet they're the ones suffering the most.
We feel that women, as well as being victims of climate change, they are victimized much more than men, and we feel that they can make the change.
When they heard about master teaching 30 housewives, everybody opened their eyes and they cannot believe it.
Not many men attended the events of Gender Day, but groups of women were able to discuss international partnerships for the future.
Men slowly understand, but that's a long process.
We are definitely calling for more men to be part of this action, because gender doesn't mean women alone.
Women can do a lot of things if we can team up as a partners continuously.
As people nowadays have become more aware of what they eat, food safety is a hot topic among consumers. This includes questions regarding trans fats, which have sparked worldwide concern due to the fact that it is widely used in processed food and is unhealthy. Why is trans fat so detrimental, and why have the United States and other countries either completely banned or regulated the use of trans fats in food products? Let's find out in our next report.
Breakfast is said to be the most important meal of the day, as it provides sufficient energy to keep our body going over the day. Do you know the hidden danger in the seemingly nutritious breakfast of buttered toast and a cup of coffee with creamer? In fact, be it margarine or creamer, it all consists of trans fat, which is harmful to the body and can't be easily digested.
Saturated fats will easily raise the level of our blood cholesterol, and unsaturated fats won't do that to the same degree. What about trans fat in terms of cholesterol? It is even worse than saturated fat.
The intake of trans fats can lead to cardiovascular diseases and will increase the level of triglyceride in our blood. For diabetes patients who need to control their blood sugar level, this is something they need to be aware of. What exactly is this fat that is so easily missed yet so detrimental to our body? The first kind of trans fats comes from animals such as cattle and sheep, as their digestive system consists of specific enzymes and bacteria, which will create trans fatty acids when breaking down eaten grass. Thus, when we consume dairy products, traces of this acid will be absorbed into our body. However, the real harmful trans fatty acids are those man-made. The process of hydrogenating natural vegetable oil into industrial oil that is more resistant to heat and has a longer shelf life will create trans fatty acids. The process of turning liquidized natural vegetable oil into a non-natural solid is referred to as hydrogenation. Vegetable oil is considered a form of cis-unsaturated fats, meaning that carbon atoms and hydrogen atoms are on opposite sides of the double bond that forms the fat molecule. However, catalysts such as nickel and palladium will break the molecular structure, causing the hydrogen atoms to drift to the other side of the molecular bond. The result is an oil that is resistant to heat, thus extending its shelf life and also adding a crispy and crunchy taste to the food that is cooked or baked with it. Trans fat is often found in fried foods such as fries, fried chicken, donuts, potato chips, and more. It may also come from another food source, meaning hidden fat can be discovered in pastries that taste crispy and crunchy.
While trans fat makes our food more delicious, it nonetheless can't be easily digested and is regarded as the worst type of fat. For this reason, many countries worldwide have regulated the use of trans fat, and the Food and Drug Administration in the United States even announced a ban on trans fats. According to the World Health Organization, a healthy adult should not consume more than 2 grams of trans fat a day. A spoon of margarine already consists of 2 grams of trans fat. As Taiwan does not have strict regulations on trans fat, only when 0.3 grams of trans fat is found in every 100 grams of food does it need to be indicated on the packaging. This is a reminder to all of us to be more conscious of what we eat. The Indonesia City chapter recently organized its 94th free clinic in Pontianak of West Kalimantan, helping 326 patients with eye problems. Among the patients was Marcia, who has suffered from cataracts for 14 years. Thanks to the clinic, Marcia finally received the treatment needed to regain his vision.
20-year-old Masir is a teacher at a local boarding school. He is also a cataract sufferer of 14 years. When he was a child, he endured his classmates' ridicule, and now that he is older, cherishes any and all opportunities to regain his vision.
I truly want to see again with that eye, but I don't have enough money to undergo surgery, so it is impossible to get the treatment I need.
Although suffering from cataracts, he never gave up, but instead worked even harder than those around him.
Despite his disability, Monsieur still faces life with a positive attitude. In addition, Monsieur's brother is always there with encouragement and emotional support.
It's more difficult for him to work with single eye. If he can see with both eyes, he then can manage his work better.
Before his surgery, Monsieur was full of worries. However, following the successful surgery, there was only joy.
I want to learn to help the less fortunate, just like the Tzu Chi volunteers. I want to help other people with their disabilities.
At this 94th free clinic, over 300 patients came to seek treatment, and Tzu Chi volunteers did their best to help the patients get the care they needed.
Tzu Chi volunteers have shown their utmost care to these patients. It's just unbelievable. From beginning to end, the volunteers have tended to the patients with unrivaled attention. Their kind gestures are so genuine and sincere. It is wonderful to see.
With the volunteers' company and support, patients are able to leave their worries behind and head towards a better future.
Back to Thailand, when Chachoengsao province was devastated by a flood in early October, Tzu Chi volunteers provided hot meals to needy residents. Now that the water has subsided, volunteers are back with rice and daily necessities to help flood survivors get back on their feet. We'll leave you with these images. Thank you for tuning in. Goodbye.